Brad, you're the owner of this company. You should be thinking ahead a little bit more. I'm a little disappointed in you.
I'd like to vote him out.
Yeah, please, actually, yeah. Can we get a motion at the table to vote me out?
Forward thinking like a buzzword?
Oh, so between that and parking lot, if you want to have a sales talk, we can have one right now.
You need to level set yourself, Brad.
Did you just invite him to the parking lot, Brad? Do we have an HR department yet?
Yeah, it's me.
You're fired.
I'd like to report the HR department to the HR department.
That's bad. I'm just wanting to. I'm going to unionize.
It's the scrolling Monty Python and the Holy Grail opening credits where it's like, the HR department would like to inform you that the former HR department has been fired and replaced by a new HR department. You're fired. You're fired. The ownership would like to inform you that the HR department hired to replace the HR department hired after the HR department was fired has now been fired. Next thing you know, all of our shit is just talking about meese and moose from Sweden and how my sister got bit by a moose.
How fast is an African swallow?
Well, that depends.
Is he fully laden? All right. If you're gonna do him, get him out of your system. Let's do this thing. You gonna just save him for the future again?
Are you inviting us to say fuck you?
All right, here we go. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, and tonight there is only Warhammer. Welcome to the Tainted Hive, the first season of our Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Maledictum podcast. I'm your GM, Brad. Guiding our group, joining me today are Justin, Eric, Mike, and Alex. Welcome to the 9th episode of the Tainted Hive. Guys, how we doing?
So,
A little curious how it's going to turn out. Looking forward to
thorough explanation of how he's doing.
So, Alex, you made a backup character, right?
I've been considering it. Been thinking about what I'm going to do when I die here in a few minutes.
Going full random again?
I was going to say, are we going full random again?
I might as well. Might as well. And then I can't complain when he sucks again. Or I can complain, actually, but
it's not your fault, though.
It's not my fault, right?
The dice gods made it happen.
Yeah.
I guess it's my fault that I stood there watching this guy weld for too long. But
I'm
going to pretend it's not. So I went full random on my time standing there as well.
You wouldn't be lick spittle anymore, though.
Well, speaking of what happened last time, to recap, as you guys reached Battery Manufactorum 6.938, you entered into this massive town-sized industrial building, and you saw the absolutely horrid conditions. I think one of the quotes from last time was you guys had said, "I can't believe how manual this process that should be automated is." Very kind of fitting for the Imperium. And as you watched, you saw as people were hand-cranking conveyor belts, setting on empty las packs, actively manually pouring in the acid slurry of the acids of Vol's like kind of biological wastelands into these packs. And you watch this whole process. Breaking up and kind of divide and conquer, Quinton went to go try to break in air quotes into the office to see what kind of paperwork and other documentation may have existed, while Mordecai spoke with and distracted one of the Adeptus Administratum overseers up on the gantries above. Roderick and Dimitri, you both kind of took off into the actual work floor, both looking to either make distractions and or see how different operative processes could be leaned to your help. You saw, within the span of time that you were in this manufactorum, you saw multiple Warhammer's equivalent of OSHA violations, with people falling onto moving conveyor belts. The gentleman who had his arms lopped off at the elbows as Dimitri watched as he was trying to place las packs into the clamper, as this other woman was just operating the clamper very fast. You saw as someone was constantly re-welding the TIG welds, or the binding welds of the las packs, again, by hand. And all of this was happening. You also found the gentleman who had been cranking the conveyor belt nearest you, Roderick, and through some group effort, you managed to essentially grab a hold of him, save the people that he was careening towards an acid bath, and then use that time to dive into his mind and try to get a grasp of if he knew about Gratis, what he knew about Gratis. And you manage to find that the gentleman did use Gratis, habitual user. He buys it every week from a gentleman in a faded red leather coat with gold trim in a mockery of the nobility of the hive, with 15 metal spikes running along the back of his scalp. From the front to the back of his scalp. You saw all of these things happening. And as these things were happening, Mordecai, as the other three were kind of diving into this guy's mind and trying to get the grips of that, you went to try to get a hold of the welder and see what was going on. And you heard her muttering under her breath, "It needs to be perfect. It needs to be perfect. It needs to be perfect." As we left off last time, Mordecai, you realized that the las pack that they were welding has hit the critical point of failure. And as you were getting ready to jump out of the way, Quinton decided to purge his warp charges in the Manufactorum.
You don't care.
Before we get to those
Imperium.
Before we actually get into the effects of that, though, I want to take a quick second here. Dimitri, you needed to pick one more talent because you had taken that mental indoctrination piece and rolled it twice on the table. So what did you end up selecting?
So I chose Forbidden Knowledge Linguistics. So then under linguistics, that would be that I can read and write Lingua Technis. Sounds like a bad joke. But okay.
What the hell is Lingua Technis?
It's what the tech priests speak. It's basically like it's C++ in the Warhammer 40k universe.
It's Linux, C++ kind of level coding. It's the language of the Adeptus Mechanicus.
That hurt my brain so much what you just said.
Yeah.
I tried not to say anything.
I don't know. Isn't Linux all in binary coding?
Linux?
Linux?
It's in Linux.
Whatever. As you can tell, I don't code computers. Oh God, Linux. Okay, that's, you know what? That's your new pistol.
It's okay, Brett. Warhammer's pronunciations have completely melted your brain.
It's true.
Pistols, Linux.
I've heard Lays pistol
Snipper
so many
versus
times
Sniper.
that Linux just made sense. Yeah,
It all makes sense.
yeah. Linux, Lays pistol, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, imagine pronouncing things phonically.
We don't do that here.
Okay. So, Dimitri, you have, to kind of take back to the point where this happened, you're hacking into the woman who was working the clamper's arm, Benedicta, as you kind of hacked into her augmetic, which was not a Mechanicus level augmetic. It's the only reason you were able to hack into an actual true augmetic. Doing so kind of triggered those two pieces in your brain, the first of which was your ability to be distracting, your hypnotechno. What's the talent called again?
Hypno Indoctrination.
Thank you. Your hypno indoctrination, triggering you realizing better ways to distract. But as you've walked away and now are speaking with this other guy, you realize that your brain is starting to think, and as you're listening and hearing, you think back to the coding that you backdoored on the augmetic and realize there might have been other ways to do it. You realize that now you can kind of read and understand the language of the AdMech. So
now when I see it, I see blonde, brunette, redhead.
Nice reference.
I just envision that you look at it and it's like the code of the Matrix and only you can understand it at this point.
I'm envisioning the Rain Man scene from The Hangover with all the equations flying by. And me puzzling out how to turn it on or something.
Coupled with a hefty dash of Charlie Day from Always Sunny and his wall of string theory tying faces together. Okay, so hypno indoctrination was very successful. You have both of those talents moving forward. Next thing, real quick, we haven't talked on short-term goals, and I know that part of the struggle was trying to figure out what they would be. Not everyone has a short-term goal today, but what I'd like to do is quick round the horn. If you have your short-term and long-term goals or ambitions picked out, share those. Normally, we would have these at the start of the mission, but with a lot of things rolling, we had them, didn't have them, never actually settled on them. So now that we've had a couple sessions under our belts, let's go short-term and long-terms. Quinton, I'm going to have you go first.
All right, Quinton's short-term ambition is to expand his psyker knowledge and power. Being a new station psyker, he wants to expand his knowledge. And his long-term ambition is to become an inquisitor.
Okay, so become more knowledgeable in the psyker knowledge, psyker talents and skills, and then become an inquisitor. Got it. Mordecai, talk to me.
I guess my short term right now would basically be to get a stamp of approval from Halikarn on my performance on this mission, and to be considered for future roles.
Okay.
Long-term ambition would be basically to reclaim the city land, or well, not city, but my village area from the what's the word
of the group that's kind of taken over to town.
Yeah.
The Adeptus Administratum, the intruders, the colonists, the government. Mm-hmm. I think the best one is the government. Okay. Dimitri.
It's pretty cold in these lower levels of the hive, so Dimitri would like to acquire a flamer. That is his short-term goal.
Approved.
And his long-term goal is to figure out who fiddled with his brain.
I love that.
And why.
And last but not least, Mr. Roderick Wrangler. I know you mentioned earlier you might not have anything. Did anything come to mind?
Not particularly for a short-term goal. I think for a long-term goal, Roderick would want to establish himself as a useful practitioner to Halikarn and increase his influence within the Navis Nobilite by doing that.
So increase influence within the Nobilite and with Halikarn. Got it.
Yeah. Basically broaden his power scope by being useful to Halikarn. I was thinking about a short-term goal, maybe getting a stummer. I think that would be really useful for our team. But
what that do?
It cancels out.
I'm gonna let you describe it.
It cancels out all ambient noise, including people talking. And because we have this telepathic link, I just imagine us going in on a place, telepathically communicating, and just wrecking somebody.
Big old cone of silence.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a big old cone of silence. I think it's like might have like a mile radius or some shit like that too. I don't even know.
Way to invalidate silencers.
Right, exactly.
That's awesome.
Let me take a peek. How much does a stummer cost? Because I actually don't know that.
It's 1,000.
1,000.
Then yes, that's allowed. That's an achievable short-term ambition. Get a stummer.
Yeah. Finding it's probably going to be the bigger challenge, honestly.
Acquiring one not on the black market, you would just know is going to be tough.
I'm not above the black market. I used to be a quartermaster, and I went against all the rules. I don't care.
Absolutely. But okay, so we've got our short-term ambitions. We got our long-term ambitions, or goals, I think they're called in this game. Now, let's jump back to the amount of chaos that is unfolding within this Manufactorum. First and foremost, Quinton, I have written from last session that you were at a warp charge of about 9 again. Is that correct? Or were you still at 6?
I was at 6.
You're at 6. Okay.
I did not do anything for pushing my powers, so...
That's right. Okay, so you would have been 9. You were at 9 the last time because you pushed to... Okay. So from a warp charge of 6, I'm assuming you're going to continue to maintain the psychic link, static.
Yes. So I'll be going down from 6 to 4.
Drop into 4. All right. Roll me. Let's find out what happens.
78.
Okay.
Everyone in the area has a sudden, unshakable sensation that they are being watched.
All of you watch as... so Quinton, as you purgate your warp charges, the rest of you get this unerring feeling that you're being just monitored and watched. And this is not the same feeling as a person watching you. There's this feeling of like an otherworldly ambient presence staring at you.
And you cannot shake that feeling. And it lasts for 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
Ew.
That's honestly not as bad as it could have been for effects.
I'm just waiting for one to be ridiculous.
I was really kind of hoping it would be the gravity reversal.
Oh my god, inside the Manufactorum with the acid slurry?
That'd be cool.
People just start getting melted.
So you watch as this happens. And Quinton, I don't remember from the end of last session, I don't remember you saying you warned anyone you were doing this. I think you just said to me, I'm doing it.
I'm just doing it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so you all watch as this happens. People across the Manufactorum stop what they're doing and begin to look around them as if they're trying to find what is staring at them.
Perfect distraction.
Yeah. You see as a couple folks begin to sprint away from their workstations to run towards exits to get out of the Manufactorum.
Hey, I'm saving lives. You're welcome.
You watch as one member of the Manufactorum, far down the Manufactorum itself. Actually, Quinton, Dimitri, Roderick, give me a hard -20 awareness perception test. As that is happening, right after this, we'll jump to Mordecai. So Mordecai, be ready.
No.
Then -20?
Oh boy.
+2 then.
+2. With a -20, nice job.
Yep.
-5.
Okay.
-7.
Okay, none of you see this, except for you, Quinton. You see as one of the workers in the robes, as they're helping with this, one of the men pulling the lever a few conveyors over, looks to the sky, and his face alights in a near rapturous grin as he looks up at the ceiling of this Manufactorum with this constant unwielding feeling that you're being watched by a presence from not of this world. You see as he reaches down below his station and pulls from beneath something that from this distance you're not quite sure what it is, until you hear the whine and crack of las rounds as he begins firing on people in the crowd.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, shit. Active shooter.
That escalated quickly.
We're going to jump to that in just a minute. Mordecai.
Yes.
As we left off last time, you were checking on this welder, and you found that it was about to blow. What I need you to do is you're going to need to make a dexterity, agility check, please.
Is this happening simultaneously?
Simultaneously. So as the feeling of being watched blasts into your brain, you see as the seam of this weld expands, the metal buckling outwards as the chemicals within begin to react. So what I need is, I'm going to double check. I believe I need you to make a...
I have a 31. Just tell me what it's for.
31. Okay. I actually don't think it's going to be dexterity, even though that's agility. I think we're going to be looking at something else, but I need to check.
Reflexes, maybe?
That's what I'm thinking is it's going to be his reflexes. So same idea. But that's actually more of a dodge rather than the hand piece. So we're gonna call it reflexes. I'm just checking right now to see.
Good. I'm going to go ahead and rule that it's reflexes +1.
It is. I'm ruling that it's reflexes. Yada yada yada.
I'm
yada,
ruling
yada.
that it's reflexes.
I'm ruling that it's reflexes.
Way to take the initiative, Mordecai.
It's the only one that I've taken an advance in, so I was really hoping that's the one you were going to say.
Okay, so you have a +1 to that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So. All right. You throw
never
yourself...
mind. Stealth is agility too. Go ahead.
Yeah. You throw yourself out of the way of this las pack that is expanding and literally exploding. The rest of you, as you hear this opening fire of the wine cracks of Laz, you then hear a rippling, crumping. And as you look over to the piece of the space where Mordecai had been, there is an explosion of fire that erupts and it wraps up into the gantries, crashes one of the conveyor arms. Pieces of the Manufactorum are collapsing inwards as other parts are flying outwards. Mordecai, the +1 is good. That helps you get out of the way. Now, what that means is you're still going to take some damage, but you're not going to take the full equivalent of a frag grenade exploding. So the erupting las pack explodes with the power of a frag grenade, which would normally do 6 damage.
Oh, weak-ass frag grenade.
You say that, except there's no way to reduce it.
Meh.
It's a lot, actually.
That's a lot of damage. So, what ends up happening instead is a couple things. Frag grenades have the blast perk. So we're gonna run into weapons here really quick, which is a good time we're finally getting there. We're getting there. So, characters in a target zone can use their reaction to make a reflex dodge test. You did. If you win the opposed test, you do damage equal to your weapon damage plus the difference in SL. This is a las pack that is erupting, therefore there is no positive test there. You're just testing against a flat roll. And actually, because you won the test, you're going to take no damage. So, that's a good thing.
Nice.
So, because you won the test, you end up diving and you get behind a piece of the conveyor belt directly to your right. And as this eruption crashes out, one of the conveyor arms crashes down, chunks of plasteel fly everywhere. You feel the crump and the whoosh of the heat, followed by screams of people who didn't get out of the way. This entire portion of the Manufactorum where you are, Mordecai, is now a toxic hazard. Because as it exploded, it broke into and tore out chunks of the pieces around it. Mordecai, I need you to give me a difficult -10 awareness perception check. And it's going to be coupled with a challenging +0. Challenging +0 logic investigation check. So use the same roll for both.
I don't want to use this roll.
Have fate if you want to reroll.
If you need it.
I think I need to. I rolled a 93.
Oof. Okay. Using a fate point?
What did you say? Awareness and
it's a -10
logic?
awareness. Yeah, it's a -10 awareness sight, and a standard +0 logic investigation.
Okay. So the awareness is going to be a +4.
Okay.
And then the logic is a +3.
Okay.
I went from a 93 to an 8.
Perfect. Great thing. As you pull up from behind the shattered piece of conveyor that you are leaning behind, you look over the lid and you see that where this one las pack exploded, 3 more have been thrown from the area and are glowing a cherry red, and you see as seams are starting to kind of buckle on those as well.
I see as I'm running away from it.
That's why you needed to roll. So you begin to peel out of that space.
Is he saying something to the party?
Are you saying something to the party?
I interpret that very well.
Yes.
Just FYI.
Based on the explosion.
As I'm running, I would convey to the party that there is about to be more explosions.
Okay.
So I'd like to turn tail and run.
As this is happening, the first explosion has crumped off. The worker has looked to the sky in almost like a gross elation, and then pulled a las weapon from below his workstation and began firing on his fellow workers. The Mordecai has passed on that there are additional las packs that are about to blow. The Adeptus Administratum overseers from on high, they're augmetic loudhailers, just screaming, trying to be heard over the noise as they are telling people to evacuate, move back, get out of the way. You see as they also You double check. I know they have whips, but power mauls, but I thought they had a ranged weapon. No, they don't have guns. As this guy is firing, you see as they are all taking cover as well, yelling from their loud hailers for people to take cover. This guy with the gun is
I would
about...
like to do something if I've seen him before I completely just run.
Okay, hold tight. So the guy with the gun is about 3 zones away, about 25, 30 meters, just firing. 25, 30 meters is probably too far, probably about 20 meters, just firing. Mordecai, what were you about to say?
I was about to say, if I see him firing, I would like to retrieve my sniper rifle from my back and take up a good position next to one of these conveyors.
Okay. And Quinton, what were you saying you would like to do? Because what I think is going to happen is we're probably going to jump into initiative.
I wanted to smite the sucker.
Okay. What I would like to know then is, please...
But I don't know if he's 3 zones. If he's 3 zones away, that's farther than I was expecting him to be. I thought it was going to be like the next zone over.
No,
How big
his
zones
zones
are fairly big.
So zones are very arbitrary. In this case, the zones are based upon the breakup of the room. Because of all the different workstations, moving quickly zone to zone, space to space would be difficult.
Got it.
In terms of feet or meters, he's like 20 to 25 meters away. He's across the Manufactorum. He's not right next to y'all. He's not within, you can sprint to him distance. He's a bit away. But
Sure.
He's not so far away that you couldn't reach him quickly either. Now, as we get into this, here's what I'd like to do. I would like for each of you to please remind me of your initiative order. So let's start with Quinton. What's your initiative value?
7.
Oh, okay.
What?
Whoa.
We'll get into that in a minute.
Perception and agility, so I'm perceptive.
Mordecai, what's your initiative value?
Oh, maybe I'm misunderstanding then this. Like, is it not just my...
Perception bonus plus agility bonus.
Yes, perception plus agility.
Okay.
Which is different than
Mine is also 7 then.
Also
Warhammer
7.
Fantasy.
Perfect. Yeah,
I
a little
was
different than
looking at the
Warhammer
wrong
Fantasy.
thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I'm like, only 7, but okay.
You don't have a double-digit score here. So, Roderick, what is your initiative bonus?
8.
Okay. And Dimitri?
5.
Okay. So, this is a good thing, because here's how this works. Initiative in this game is different than in Warhammer Fantasy. It's not a double-digit value, things like that. Now, with the initiative, you still use this number as your turn order. So it just helps me with that piece. The way it works is that the character with the highest initiative goes first, followed by the next highest, so on and so forth. If you are tied with another, what can happen is that I just decide on the order in which people act. So for instance, if you're tied with an enemy, I'm just going to tell you, you're going to go here, he's going to go there, and there'll be other factors that kind of play into it. The other piece of it is, and that's for enemies. Now for you guys versus enemy NPCs, it's going to be based upon your reflex skill. So for instance, Mordecai and Quinton, you both have a 7 initiative. You both want to act. What are your reflex skills?
44.
44.
Not
Quinton.
that high.
Okay.
Reflex is 33.
44 and reflex of 33. Okay, so here's what happens. Mordecai, you're going to act second in initiative. Roderick, at this point, it's been called out to you that there is someone in the room blasting, las pistol in hand, just two-handed grip. And you, as you turn to look, you see as his face is just lit with unhealthy fervor. Mouth wide, he's just grinning, going, ha, 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 and just las pistol bolts are flying.
And he is 3 zones away from me right now.
3 zones away.
So me, and then 1 zone, 2 zone, he's in the 3rd one.
Correct.
Okay.
So you are currently from where you were at the head of the crank wheel where the guy's metronome went out of speed. He is 2 conveyor belts to your left at the clamping station 2/3 of the way down.
Okay. I assume each conveyor belt is like cover I could take.
Yes. Conveyor belts would give you the equivalent of half cover. You can crouch down because they are elevated. You can crouch down and fire under them, but it gives you some bit of cover. Absolutely.
All right. I'm going to move 1 zone closer to him.
Okay.
And remind me, movement in this game is just basically I can move one zone because pretty much everyone can move one zone, right?
Yes. So unless you have a faster movement speed, it's based upon your move value. So for instance, movement is broken up into the number of zones that you go. Now your move action on your turn, you can move and take an action. Mm-hmm. So when with movement, you can decide to move before or after. When you move, you can move into a zone adjacent to your zone. If you want to move faster, you can use your action to run. And as you move into a zone with cover, which this one has, you can use your action to take cover. If you have, if you have a faster movement speed, which none of you do, you should all have the ability to move one zone. You can move two. So theoretically, like I think Eldari, Drakari, and the Eldar races have the ability to move two spaces. Some monstrous creatures have the ability to move two spaces.
And if
Others
I wanted to, I could use my action to run as well, right?
Correct. And run will move you one more zone.
Got it. I will I'm just going to move to the one zone, and then I assume he's not focused on me in any way, shape, or form.
No, he's picking off his coworkers.
Okay, I am going to use my action to take cover at this point, then. I'm not going to actually fire at him just yet until I get a better handle on what's going on.
So you move, you take off from where you are at the metronome wielding station. You take off one entire conveyor belt over and move partway up the conveyor belt right before the acid slurry. So you're kind of protected by the large vat of acid and crouch down behind it. You have a line of sight with him if you lean around the side of the vat, but the vat will provide you with cover. So you move up, you take cover there as the las pistol bolts keep flying.
I do draw my laser pistols, though. Yeah, laser pistols. Laser pistols.
Linux. All right, next up, Mordecai.
Hey, if my memory serves me correctly,
Sir.
I took cover before you called initiative, so I am currently in cover, yes?
Well, you dove behind the cover, and then you took off running and mentioned that you would like to take cover, which is when I said we're going to have to get into initiative because a lot of people want to do a lot of things.
I can take cover in the same zone that I'm in as a free action, correct?
Correct. You can use your free movement to do that.
I will do that.
Okay, so Mordecai, because you didn't get back to the group, you are also 3 zones away. The group is in a zone, one zone off to your left. You are now one zone behind Roderick at a different conveyor belt. So essentially, the Quinton and Dimitri are still at the conveyor belt where the metronome was. You would be a few meters behind that offset right, behind a different conveyor belt, one over. And then you have Roderick. Actually, Roderick is 2 conveyor belts from you, so he's about 2 zones from you. But you have 3 zones
like
to the
it matters to
well.
him.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Just trying to paint the scene here for people. You guys listening, making sure you guys can see where people are.
I want them far away from me, but I appreciate the scene. So I will take cover. Okay. I'm going to use my sniper rifle, which currently does not have the silencer, but that's fine.
That's okay.
It's pretty loud in here. I'm going to take this. I'm going to use my action to aim.
Okay.
And I'm going to aim at his face.
I love this. Okay.
So, question.
Sir.
We are currently experiencing this uncomfortable feeling of being watched by some otherworldly thing. Are there any disadvantages on things?
Nope.
Are there any penalties to anything? I just feel weird.
The penalty of what you're feeling. So to kind of give you guys the let's break the fourth wall here really quick so you kind of understand what's going on. Quinton purgated his warp charges and essentially opened a rift from the warp where otherworldly, like warp-based chaotic entities are probably looking down on this space. You all feel it. It's terrible. Out of character, this guy pulling out a las pistol, a little laze pistol as Roderick calls it, and firing is probably because of that. If you notice that Quinton is the only one who noticed that as this happens, he seemed to look to the sky, almost in like a religious like fervor before pulling out a weapon. So, in terms of your question of what are the negatives of this weird feeling, this guy with a las gun firing into a crowd.
Okay, but I don't have
you have no
anything
disadvantages
on my rolls or anything. Okay,
not in this one, not in this particular situation. No,
Right, until I have to roll against being mutated or something. Anyway.
Also, well, just mechanically so you're aware, there's also the chance that you guys move into a region or a zone where the warp taint is higher, at which point this could have caused a cascade of additional effects. But
got it.
Not now.
I have a question.
Sure.
How did my purgation affect something so far away?
So the purgation in this case, the way it kind of impacted was that it was impacting the Manufactorum work floor as a large case entity, not just the specific small zone around you. There's other things at play here.
Okay. DM fuckery, got it.
DM fuckery. There are things I can't break fourth walls for you yet. We'll explain at later times.
All I need to know is DM fuckery, because I'm like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense.
So I get to where I feel I'm comfortable away from these packs exploding to some degree.
Yeah, you had gotten there before this initiative piece, so you're okay.
I take a knee behind this conveyor, and I'm going to just take my action to aim, and that'll be my turn.
Okay. So that means that on your next turn, the range of your weapon increases by 1 step. Not that you need that, and you can target the hit location without a penalty. I love that.
That's what I want, is that no penalty.
Quinton, you're up.
Question: where are the explosion? Where did the explosion happen, and where were those glowing last packs?
Okay,
in relation to
right here,
where you and Dimitri are at the cusp of that conveyor belt. Yep. One conveyor over to, if you're facing the conveyor, if you're facing where the guy was, to your right is the conveyor belt that Mordecai is on, all the way at the end at the welding station, which would be 35 to 40 meters down. That's where it happened.
So if I were to run towards the shooting guy, would that be away or towards
very far away?
So it's you're like the opposite direction.
Correct. You're currently standing. Okay. Let's numerically number these to help you. Conveyor belt 1 is where the shooter is. Conveyor belt 2 is where Roderick is. Conveyor belt 3 is where you and Dimitri currently stand. Conveyor belt 4 is where Mordecai has taken cover.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I wasn't going to be running towards the explosion if I was going to be running towards the guy.
I will, especially with Theater of the Mind, I will actively try to make sure I remind you of things like that just in case there's misunderstandings.
I am going to move one zone towards the guy, and then I'm going to take the run action and move another zone closer to him. Okay.
So you go sprinting up, and you see as Roderick has taken cover next to the acid vat. And Roderick, Quinton, do you want to go around the conveyor belt, or do you want to do a slide underneath it?
I'm going to be awkward as fuck and just kind of roll over it in a non-graceful manner.
So Roderick, you're in cover. You're in cover by this acid vat, and you see as Quinton comes running up to you in his robes, says nothing to you, and goes to make like the Dukes of Hazzard style slide over the conveyor belt, and instead like gets up there, gets caught, and just goes, and kind of rolls over it, but gets up and keeps moving. Quinton, you are 2 zones over, 1 zone from the shooter, also in a space.
Dude.
However, because you ran, you can't take cover, so you're kind of just out.
That's fine. I still have psychic static up, so.
Yep. Oh, yeah, speaking of which, does he even notice?
Nobody even sees this guy doing anything. Just running
Quinton,
around like a fart in the wind.
Like a fart in the wind. Quinton, you roll over this conveyor belt awkwardly and kind of stumble to the ground and make a lot of noise as this guy's laughing. He doesn't even look at you.
That's kind of what I was hoping for.
Dimitri, you are up.
Am I also 3 zones away from the shooter?
You are.
Okay. All
you,
right.
Roderick, and Quinton were all the exact same distance.
And is he oriented towards us, or is he just kind of shooting 360?
He was facing away from you all, firing into the crowd of Manufactorum workers who are flooding out of another door.
Okay, so I'm going to move 1 zone towards him.
Okay.
So now I'm 2 zones from the shooter.
Yep, puts you right up next to Roderick. You can take cover if you want, or you can just fire away.
Straight. Hang on a sec. I think what I am going to do, and tell me how specific I need to be with this. I want to try and use Overwatch. So
I love Overwatch. It's a great one.
To the trigger, I want to watch the gantries up above.
Okay.
and if I see anyone up there, how specific does it be? Basically, I just want to watch above. If somebody starts targeting our guys down below, I want to fire a shot at them.
That's specific enough. I need specific enough to know a measurable action for me to allow the trigger.
I wasn't sure if I had to specify the target they were targeting or what, but
you can. So, for instance, you could say, "I want to Overwatch."
I don't want to. That would be preferable.
What you've told me is exactly what I need. I'm going to watch the gantries, and if anyone targets our group, I'm going to fire. That's perfect.
Okay.
All right. So you are also out of cover, but you are now watching the gantries above you. You see as the last overseer you see is running for one of the exits to get out.
All right.
Okay. That brings us to the guy.
Probably should get the fuck out by pretty soon.
The guy does not notice any of you and instead continues to fire into the crowd, and he's going to use the last pistol. He's going to use the burst effect on it. So he's going to utilize that perk, firing into the crowd, and make a few shots. And as you watch, you see as the space around him, because he just started opening fire, there's only 2 bodies so far. But he can add that. Yep. Okay.
Shit, Dimitri took more arms than that.
All right, so you watch as he pulls out this, he takes his last pistol, aims at another one, and you see as one of the overseers has kind of reached the gantry above him. Dimitri, as you're watching the gantries above you all, you see as an overseer is kind of peeling off to the left to try to make his way out. Another overseer from the far end is also trying to make his way through the office to get to the entrances. You see as the guy with the last pistol notices this overseer, takes aim as he's running, and just fires a las bolt. It swings wide, misses the overseer entirely, but he ducks as he's running, looks over at him, and just begins throwing out a string of curses. The guy firing is now just laughing maniacally. That brings us back to Mordecai. You have taken aim. You have called a headshot.
It's Roderick's turn.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Roderick is at 8. Roderick, you are in cover.
I do want my turn, but it's not mine.
I'll have to rewrite the order later so I can keep track of who's where faster. Roderick.
I am gonna move one more zone forward.
Okay. You follow Quinton's lead and actively slide over the conveyor belt much easier.
I'm gonna look at Quinton before I move, and I'm like, "Mate, this is how you do it. Watch me." And I'm just going to move forward and like try and do like a little roll slide over the conveyor belt. Hopefully succeed. Okay. And then I'm going to finger guns back at him. Well, actually, I'm going to actual guns back at him. Like, all right.
Quinton turns around and looks at Dimitri and goes, "What did you say?"
Oh boy.
And then you said these are just light cover?
The conveyor belts are light cover. If you wanted to move towards like the acid vats, those are full cover if you're crouched behind them.
Okay. If there's one of those in this zone that I just moved into, I will take conveyor full cover behind them, or heavy cover, I guess.
Every one of these regions is the conveyor belt with the crank where they load them. Then they go to the acid vat to have the acid poured. Then they go to the clamper. It's just a rote mechanism style.
Yeah.
Okay, so you take cover behind the acid vat. And you are now crouched a few feet away from Quinton as he's standing in the open.
Yeah. I mean, if these are heavy cover, I'm not even going to crouch. I'm just going to stand comfortably behind. And
heavy cover, but not that tall. So the vat is only waist high. You have to crouch behind it. Okay. That brings the end of your turn, which means Mordecai, you're going to get your chance to shoot your shot, quite literally.
Mordecai has dice in his hand.
Wait, right. So we have one second.
Yes, sir. Look at his face.
The other part, I'm reading all of this Overwatch stuff. The other part of Overwatch is if the trigger doesn't happen this turn, you may take a different action.
At the end of the turn. Yep.
Yeah. So he doesn't waste his action.
Since Dimitri was last in the order, let's quickly jump. Dimitri, your turn was over. The round was over. So go ahead.
I'm gonna also take aim at the whack dude.
So using the aim action. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Mordecai.
That's
You're
a
rolling
33.
That's a 30.
Ooh,
So
nice.
+1
Crit.
with a sniper rifle. I'm pretty
with a
excited.
sniper rifle.
Way to
All right.
open up.
First
Way
shot.
to
Let's
just
go.
Way to just fucking put this thing down. All right, so you rolled a 33 to hit, which is a +1. That's beautiful.
And I aimed at his head.
And you
It's
aimed
about
at his
to be
head, which means
mystifying.
it's a called headshot crit. Okay.
That's fucking
So,
dope.
you rolled doubles with a positive SL, automatic crit. We know it's a headshot, so what that means is you're going to do the wounds and do the criticals. Now, we need to then roll for the critical itself. Since, what I will say is, obviously, you called it, so since it's a called headshot, it's just automatically going to be a crit to the head. What I need to find is the critical table in this book, because I thought I marked it, and I did.
358.
358. Oh, it says 214. Thank you. Oh, yeah, look at this. This is so much smarter. Why wouldn't you just put this at the end? All right. What I need you to do, my friend, is twofold. So, first and foremost, we're going to determine a couple different pieces.
Mhm.
Now, it's a called crit. So, because it's a called crit, that automatically happens first. Okay. The secondary crit piece where you're able to get above 10 is if you exceed the damage done. So, criticals, you roll doubles, positive SL, you score a crit, you've dealt significant damage. What we do is you're going to then go ahead and we roll on the table. So just double checking everything to make sure you have everything good to go. And what I'd like you to do is roll me a D10 so we can resolve this critical first.
Just 1d10?
It's a single D10.
4.
A 4. So as your shot fires off, first and foremost, with +1 success level, how much damage is done?
Do I add the success level to the damage?
You still add the 1 success level to the damage, I believe. Let me double check.
If so, that's a 9. The base
Okay.
level is 8.
Base level's 8. Let me double check. I'm not, as I say this, I want to make sure I say this right without telling you wrong. I believe you do no matter what. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to
Weapon damage plus SL.
plus SL. So you're going to do 9 damage to his head.
Yeah.
Well,
Gangster.
first and foremost, your critical wound is a sliced ear. So you literally blast the guy's ear, blast through like an ear. It doesn't slice it off with a 4, but it does actually leave his ears ringing. So like, I'm going to say that you took off a
Not
giant,
worried about his ear.
took off a giant chunk of his ear. Let me see if he even survives this.
Does he have any armor on his head? I doubt it.
Worried
he
about
does
the
not
rest of his head.
He does not have armor on his head. Okay, he does survive. So the nine wounds to the head. Your sniper rifle round blasts past his right ear, takes off the entire top half, and cuts a gash from right by his right eyebrow along his head. There's like a 1/8 of an inch gouge through his scalp. His skull is showing, and the part of the ear gets blasted off.
I was hoping for a little bit more of a Gallagher effect, but that's
Watermelon.
that's okay.
Boom.
Just a little short of the Gallagher effect, unfortunately.
I will take this opportunity to.
Okay. You can.
I'm going to use my movement to. Oh, those guys have moved further. I'm assuming I'm in a zone that's adjacent to their zone that they started in.
Yes.
They were
so
to
where
the
they
left of me,
started
right?
would have been forward of you to the left. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to move into the zone they started in.
Okay.
Off to my left.
You find yourself by the metronome.
One second. What can we use superiority on?
So superiority, that's a great question. Superiority is a lovely, lovely system that can help with success levels. The full details of it, I think, are on like 196. Let me see.
Yeah.
Temporary influence, superiority. So when you have superiority, it allows you, and I think Quinton, you make it so you can't ever not have at least one superiority, which is good.
Yeah, so we have at least one now.
You have one. So what you can do is you can use it to gain a success level bonus to one test of your choice per turn.
Could Mordecai use that
Yeah, he could.
to increase it by 1?
Could increase it by 1. Mordecai, do you want to use that? I
I mean, I would love to use it, but I didn't. I don't know. So
retroactively, if you want to, I'd let you. But I mean,
so I'm not used to the superiority thing. So like,
that's why I wanted to mention it. Like, I don't think anyone even remembered it.
No, I totally didn't. So I gotta read up on it and remember.
I wasn't chatting about it.
If I have one superiority, absolutely, I would add it to it.
So superiority is a group resource. If you use it, no one else uses it.
I mean, I'm shooting the guy in the head. I probably would have used it.
Okay, good. Then we'll add one more damage. It's 10 wounds. Ear gets blasted off. Big gouge to the head. Still standing. Not looking great.
Standing?
Mm-hmm. Standing.
All right.
Mordecai, that ends your turn. You move up to the metronome where Dimitri, Quinton, and Roderick had originally been. That brings us... So Dimitri, you had used your action when Overwatch failed to take aim. Mordecai, you've shot Quinton. You are one zone away. It is your turn.
I didn't shoot Quinton.
I appreciate that. I'm going to smite him because it is a medium range. All right. So I'm going to smite him.
Okay.
And let's see. I get this.
Does smite get opposed in any shape, way, or form? I mean, despite the fact that he doesn't see you at all. Perfect. Love that. Love that for me. You can't be seen and you're going to smite him.
Okay, so that's going to be a 56, which plus it's going to be +0.
+0 will succeed.
-10 test. So then I'm going to do 8. 2 plus willpower bonus, so 2 plus 6, so 8 damage, which ignores armor.
8 damage, which ignores armor. Okay. Go ahead and describe.
Is he standing, Brad?
Go ahead and describe your smite and what it does, and what it, if there's a visible sign at all.
Well, there's a blast of raw psychic power that's blamed, so there's like a burst of psychic energy that's thrown at him, and then just impacts and like crushes him as much as
I have just one question.
What?
When you cast smite, do you scream unlimited power?
No, because it's not lightning.
Okay. So as you blast him with this smite, the sniper bullet fires, grazing his head, taking off a chunk of his ear. And as that's happening and he's turning to the group, the blast of psychic energy erupts, crushing his ribs, literally just, and he collapses dead on the ground.
I'm going to use the rest of my movement and turn to just run towards the nearest exit.
So you blast him and then turn and run the other way.
Whatever the nearest exit is, I'm going to run and say, we need to get the fuck out.
Okay.
Which is where in relation to us, by the way?
Behind you. The door you came in from. So, Dimitri, you are like 2 zones from the door you came in from.
Yep.
A lot of these things happened as you walked in the main doors of the Manufactorum. The first conveyor belt in front of you is the one that Mordecai was hiding behind, where the explosion happened at the end. The second conveyor belt is where the metronome was occurring. The third was other things were happening that you guys didn't notice. So yeah, there were things happening all over the place. But okay. The do you want to check the body at all, Quinton, or are you just booking it out?
I'm just booking it out.
Okay, you book it out. That'll drop initiative order at this point, so we can continue to move on. Does anyone want to do anything else, or are you all just fleeing the building?
Are we still in combat or not?
Initiative order's gone. Combat's over.
Well, is it a highly stressful situation? Because if it's not, I'm just going to purgate right away.
I'm going to rule that you're probably still stressed out with running. I'm just taking you out of initiative order.
That's what I was checking.
I would love for you to purge. I would love for you to purge.
No.
By the way, with
I'm not going to do that.
With the mental blast, with that, what does that bring you up to a smite? What are you at now?
Back up to 6.
Back up to 6.
Do you think you could go purgate next to a quiet river or something away from your party?
Hey, I didn't cause this.
Purgate downwind.
You sort of caused this, honestly. If we're being fair, you kind of made this guy shoot at everybody.
You have no proof of this.
Brad, I do want to run out with Quinton, but I want to say through the mental link, we should go see if Ragu's still out there.
We should check. We need to not miss him.
Okay. That would be great. I would like to know.
Good idea.
Fuck that up.
The 4 of you exit the Manufactorum and you hang the left. As you walk out of the Manufactorum, you hear 3 distinct crump, crump, crump. And as if anyone were to look over their shoulder, you would see as those 3 las packs have all erupted like frag grenades, chunks of machinery going around. I know, cool guys don't look at explosions.
Nah, bro. Yeah, none of us look.
Okay. None of you look to see this because cool guys don't look at explosions. But the 3 las packs have erupted. What you hear, since none of you look, is the sounds of screeching, rending, tearing plasteel and the falling of metal. It's very safe to assume that some of the gantries have collapsed. As you walk out of the Manufactorum and you turn that left to go down the long side of it, again, the Manufactorum being much longer than it is wide, but still being about 1 kilometer wide, maybe 2. As you turn to walk down there, you see the flits of the memory, Quinton, the spaces that make sense, the huge pipes that rise to the ceiling for all the gases and other fumes to leave, the pieces of box and other broken machinery that just fill the space. I would like for all 4 of you to give me a hard -20 awareness sound test.
Good.
I don't know shit.
Hey, and when we're how long does that cough last after we're out of the factory?
Oh, the cough was not from the factory. The cough was from this entire hive level.
Oh, I thought we got it once we entered the Manufactorum. Maybe I'm wrong.
Hold, please. Maybe you did. Let me quickly check my notes again. Hang on.
It wasn't necessarily the Manufactorum, but it was this street that the Manufactorums are on.
It's this area. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
It's not the one specific Manufactorum. It's that you are in like an industrial cesspool of Manufactorums.
Okay. So still in effect. Got it.
Still in effect. So hard -20 awareness sound.
-20?
Yep.
-5.
-5.
Minus
+0.
-0.
-2.
-2.
No, +0.
+0, Mordecai. Sorry, misheard you.
-5.
Okay. Mordecai, your keen ears pick up on something over the sounds of... you all, actually, all 4 of you hear flames. You can hear the sounds of actual fire from off to your left inside the Manufactorum. You also still hear the sounds of metal shifting, rubble falling. Mordecai, over all of that, you can't make out what they're saying, but you hear voices from up ahead. They are impossible to be understood with all of the other outside noise happening, but you do hear voices from up ahead, and they are distinctly more than one. The exact number, hard to discern. Between you and there's no real cover. You're walking down a large open space with some rubble along the building on the left and all of these pipes. You can't tell exactly where the voices are coming from, but it is ahead of you.
I will let the party know that there is obviously a group up in front of us. And also, Roderick, might I say you looked awfully graceful while Quinton and I handled the threat.
Thank you. I'm going to actually take it as a legitimate compliment.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I always aim to be graceful.
Mission accomplished.
I can never tell when there's going to be another quip, so I wait a second, and then I go, okay, let's describe this, and then there's another quip, and I'm like, shit.
There's always another quip, Brad. Just
I never know when they end.
8 seconds.
That's why they don't call it a slow.
So the 4 of you continue making your way down the alley.
Well, hold on, Brad.
Sure.
As I said that, I would like to, sniper rifle still in hand. If I were to look down this scope, would I be able to have any kind of advantage on sight to see if I see anybody?
If you want to take a knee and aim down your scope, or walk and aim down your scope to see if you see anybody, you absolutely can. And you will give me a awareness perception check, and we'll call it a flat challenging +0.
43. You said awareness, right?
Correct.
+1.
Okay. As you aim down the sights and you look down the you have a solid sniper rifle. So as you look down your sniper rifle through the scope, you see ahead the signs of the visible forms of a few bodies. Now, straight ahead of you, part of why it's hard to see is there's still, as we described prior, there's still that smoky haze of the manufactorums where you can see, but everything kind of, imagine like a heavy fog, but it's like a petrochemical fog.
Sure.
You can see the shapes, and as you kind of take a few steps forward, looking down your scope, you see the unmistakable sign of a red coat and a spiked head.
It's like somebody's been rolling coal down this alley.
Kind of. Not quite that thick or gross. More of like, it's almost more of like a misty day where you can see things in the distance, but number one, your vision is cut down, and number two is the quality of what you see is extremely low.
It's less douchey fog.
Through the telepathic link, I believe I see Big Ragu up ahead. He's not alone. Brad, do I see any kind of like catwalks or ladders on these buildings? Anything that I could climb up on to get a better vantage point?
Yeah, there are ladders on the buildings. However, they don't come all the way to the ground. They are currently, the lowest rung is about 12 feet up. It's very much like a fire escape on a high rise where the ladder is there. It can be dropped, but it's very obviously that there's a tool or something to make it come down so people aren't just climbing up there willy-nilly.
Anybody got that tool on them? Keep that thing on
you? Survival gear.
Like a hook or something? Is that what we're getting?
Yeah, maybe a grapple hook.
I have a rope, but no grapple.
That's okay. Being up higher seems very advantageous right now, but if we can't, we can't.
I missed how tall was it up?
12 feet. 12 feet. First rung.
12 feet. Yeah. It's all too high to just boost someone up.
Yeah, it's a little too high to be boosted. And you can tell from a design that's intentional. Okay.
Well, let me ask you this: Are there obvious doorways that look like it would gain us rooftop access?
No.
Nearby? Okay.
There are doorways on either side. Again, alley being very wide between the two manufactorums, but there are doors on your left that go into the manufactorum you just left. There are doors to your right that would probably go in. It's very safe to assume they go directly into the manufacturing floor of the one next door.
One more. Can I kind of gauge about how far ahead these guys are? And follow up to that, are there any like offset walls or gaps in the walls that I could tuck into?
You have all of the pipes that are rising. They create those kind of offsets where you could easily tuck behind. The men you see appear to be...
These don't look like gas pipes, right?
No, that's exactly what they look like, is exhaust pipes, but not petrochemical fuel, more of petrochemical fog. So it's not a...
I want to make sure these aren't natural gas pipes.
It's not a promethium.
Standing behind.
Yeah, kapow! It's not a promethium intake valve. These are all bending out and up, and there is just all the pollution is leaving.
Cool.
In terms of distance, he's probably about 30 meters, 35 meters ahead. It'd be the equivalent of, given it's an open alley, 3 zones total, just in terms of time to get there at a standard jog.
Okay.
Dimitri, what's up?
I'd like to reference the maps on my data slate.
Sure.
And find our location, which I'm guessing shouldn't be too hard.
Shouldn't be too hard. Okay.
And look to see if there's a alternative route to where we could come around the side and flank them.
Okay. Give me a challenging +0 navigation surface check.
Yeah.
While he's doing that, Quinton's just going to keep walking towards them.
You're going to keep walking towards them. Okay. That means I
need
to see.
You said +0, Fred?
+0, yes.
Okay. That's +1 then.
+1. We'll get to the maps in 1 second. Quinton, you're walking forward. I need to roll their awareness. Dimitri, when you look at the maps, there's absolutely other ways to get to where they are. Logistically, it would be a very long walk because you have to go around one of these manufactorums that are 1 to 2 kilometers wide by 3 to 4 long.
Gotcha. Okay. Scrap that.
Are the doors on the right and left locked at all?
If you want to go check one, you can.
I'm going to go check one.
They're closed. Okay. You go to check one. Yes, they're locked.
Okay.
While we have a peaceful moment here, I'm going to take the silencer off of my snub pistol and put it onto the sniper rifle.
Okay.
And since it's a peaceful moment, I'm purgating my warp charges.
Jesus, roll it right now.
Get closer first. Stay away from us.
Nah.
Oh, hang on, I dropped a die.
Oh, this is fine. It's a hoarfrost. The area is covered in a thin layer of frost. Your breath fogs in the air, and unnatural chill infiltrates even past the thickest clothing and armor.
And how many zones is this?
You guys
one?
just
your
feel
direct
cold.
zone?
Nipples become hard immediately.
I believe so. I think it's just run randomly.
Did you roll the cold again?
I rolled an 11.
Oh, hoarfrost, not grave chill. Okay.
Yeah, it's a different one.
All right, roll me a time, please.
Oh, yeah. 8 minutes.
Okay. Unless otherwise specified, psychic phenomena affect your current zone at the GM's discretion. Okay. So your zone, you guys watch as the dusty, dirty plascrete and rockcrete below your feet ices over immediately. Not in thick ice, but just in that kind of pre-dawn chill where it'll leave footprints. As that happens, Mordecai, you are moving your silencer from one gun to another. Roderick, you are reaching over and checking the doors into the manufacturing room you just left. And while you can reach a handle and you tug, you get that like thunk of there's a latch on the interior.
It's because it's a push, not a pull.
It's a push, not a pull. It's kind of like the doors that have the lever that if you push the lever in, it releases the latch from the inside, but from the outside, you're kind of locked out.
Sure.
Very obvious that they want to funnel you, if you're going to enter the manufactorum, to come in from the main doors. As this is all happening, Quinton, you move closer. You move close. Let me ask you this in terms of logic. I'm assuming you're not purging your warp charges in their zone on the way.
No, I'm doing it back with the group, and I'm just like walking away.
Quinton ices over the entire space and begins walking closer to these individuals. Yeah. Quinton, as you continue carrying on, and you move a zone and then 2 ahead of the group, you'd be 1 zone from this group of people.
So they're 3 zones away from us?
Yes.
Okay.
You recognize that it is the same guy from the hostelry with the 15 spikes on his head, the red coat with the gold trim. And we'll find out what that means next time in episode number 10.
Fine, Brad.
The sheer anticipation, the heavy silence of anticipation. Lord.
Can't wait.
Well, you're going to have to wait just a little bit.
That was a super pregnant pause.
What?
Hey, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to head on over to deadsunsco.com for the latest news and our socials. If you like what you've heard, please consider supporting us over at patreon.com/deadsunscompany so we can continue doing what we love and bringing this to you. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Also, they don't want to be seen as a heretic.